Hey there, how's it going? So, I've been hating my wardrobe and I decided I'm going to try making some of it myself. See how that goes. Come on. Hey there, how's it going? So, like I said, my wardrobe is not my favorite and I'm working on making it more my style. Or the style that I'm looking for. So recently I hit the thrift store and I found myself a pair of oversized Dickies. And by oversized, I mean several sizes up in the waist, but the inseam is fine. I never resized any of my clothes before, so shout out to Kiana for putting out her tutorial that I'm following in this video. I will link her tutorial in the description in case you want to follow it yourself. Okay, let's get started. Obviously, you need your giant pants, a seam ripper, and or a razor blade. You never know. One or the other could be better for the job. Some tailor's chalk or other fabric marking device. Make sure it will A, show up on your fabric, and that B, you will be able to remove it once you are done. Unless you like stray marks on your clothes, all the power to you, rock it out. Pins or clips to hold that biddy in place. If you're using a sewing machine, a heavier needle meant for denim will prevent your needle from shattering. I've shattered a needle. Don't shatter your needles. Trust me. Also, some thread scissors or fabric scissors. Alrighty, let's go. So, just like Kiana's tutorial says, I'm starting out by putting on the pants and marking the waist at a comfortable size by pulling the waistband together at the back and marking it with my tailor's chalk. Obviously, you can do this by yourself, but if my struggling isn't obvious, maybe you'd prefer to have the help of a friend. Next, I've switched my pants and I'm going ahead and marking out my darts. I've never done darts before, so if I look like I know what I'm doing, I don't. You measure the amount you're taking out of the waistband, divide it by 2, and that's, in theory, the size of your darts at the top. This is how I originally marked mine, but since I had to take 3 whole inches out, they ended up being way too severe, causing them to pucker pretty badly. I ended up having to rip them out and make them smaller. Honestly, I redid them and they were still kind of funky, but I went with it. All around, not a bad try for my first time. I probably could have made them longer, like down into the pocket, but I was intimidated. Cut me some slack. After my markings are done, I went ahead and started removing the belt loops. Struggled to move them belt loops. Now, Kiana's pants only had 1 loop in the back, so she only removed the top of the loop. I thought I was thinking ahead by removing them completely from mine. For some reason, I thought they would be moved closer together and that I would only need 1 loop in the end. I was wrong. I could have left them, but you live and you learn. I also accidentally cut 2 holes in the pants where the belt loops were attached at the bottom, but I patched it later. So, note to self, don't get crafty, trust the process. Once I got the belt loops off, I started opening up the waistband. There was indeed a chain stitch that allows you to just cut 1 thread and pull to release the rest. This was only working in one direction for me. Maybe this is how all chain stitches work. Not sure, so I got a little hung up there too, but we got it done. My waistband was in 1 piece, whereas Kiana's was in 2. I wasn't sure if I should take out the top stitching because of this. Originally I didn't, but spoiler, I had to anyway. Okay, pants are deconstructed. Now the magic happens. First, we match the right sides of the waistband together, lining up the first markings, pin it, and head to the sewing machine. Oh yeah, for this project, I just used some quilting thread I had left over from a quilt I made in high school sewing class. Quilting thread is heavier than all-purpose, so that's why I used it here. Don't forget to change your needle over. I stored my other needle in the pack so I didn't lose it. Then we sew the line. Don't forget to remove your pins as you go and backstitch. Here, I'm sewing in the darts. I put the right sides together and pinned along the angled lines I drew before. Sew a quick line. Like I said before, I had to redo these. I could have even done them again, but I was sick of it. If it bothers me, I'll just open the waistband back up and try it again. Oh yeah, and for the darts, Kiana showed a method where you don't backstitch at the bottom of the darts. You just sew straight off the end and leave a long tail to tie a triple knot. This takes down the bulk of the thread and helps to have the darts lay flatter. So here's the first attempt at the dart. See how it made a huge pucker? Not cool. Here's the back of the pants after I redid the darts, much flatter now. There's the 2 holes I made by removing the belt loops, and there's the resewn waistband with the trimmed seam allowance. Here's what I cut off. The last step is to sew the waistband back shut. Here I'm just lining it up, then I pinned it and set it in the machine to sew. Once you get to the center seam, go ahead and use your hand wheel if you have a basic at-home machine like mine. Unless you have an industrial machine, you'll probably just end up breaking it if you try to make the machine muscle through it. Go ahead, ask me how I know. Now I have to top stitch the top of the waistband. The last step is putting the belt loops back on. I decided to stick with the 1 since I already tore in some holes where they originally were. Belt loops are usually put on with bar tacks. I was having a hard time using the bar tack setting on my machine, so I just used some zigzag stitches and went over it a few times. It's basically the same thing. Be careful with the layers of the fabric here too. I had to use my hand wheel for a lot of this part. For repairing the holes I accidentally made, I just slipped the pants onto the machine and put some zigzags over it. Because they were so small, it patched it up no problem. And here's the final result. I think they fit pretty well. Thanks for sticking with me while I fumbled through this project. I had a blast, and I'll see you in the next one.